So cautionary tale for anyone that hasn't figured it out, but once you sign a listing agreement, don't go and sign a contract with another buyer for $40,000 less, because then you get to sell it for $40,000 less and pay your listing agent. So pull that up. She's like, but you didn't
Did
sell
they
it.
have to pay off of the full listing price?
The rule says that any sale during the time you have to pay off the contract. But if I bring you a full price offer, you pay the full price offer. Now I brought her an offer $30,000 over full price. So she's paying that, plus she's paying my lawyer's fees because when she said she wasn't going to pay, I hired a lawyer. Plus she's paying some other penalty. And now the guy, she was trying to back out of his contract. She was just going to go with the new contract and back out of his contract because she told me there was no contract. And then she gets a list pending. She's like, well, no, I have to go with that contract. I said, wait a second. You're going to get sued by everybody at this point. Everyone's going to sue you. You told me there was no other contract when you signed this. So she's going to be selling, instead of selling for $260, she's going to sell for $210 plus pay out about $40,000 on top of that before closing costs. And she's like, well, won't leave me with anything. I said, then you should have listened to your agent.
Saw your post about that one. I didn't know if it was your client or not.
Yeah, well, I've got to be a little careful because I actually represent the new buyer as well, the buyer at 260, who's not pleased. And the new buyer's like, well, what's my action? I said, your action is to call an attorney. You might also have an action.
Did she? Were agreements actually made with all these different people, like ink on paper?
Yeah. She told me about the other deal when I presented this one to her. She told me about the other deal. Well, we just had a conversation about maybe.
And then I signed a few things.
And she's like, I never signed anything and I have no copies. And I said, okay, if you're sure. It's like, oh, yeah. And then she's like, well, look what and then like last night, like 2 weeks ago, last night, she's like, look what I signed. I said, what you signed looks like you're fucked. The only thing that's not in the contract you signed is any mention of a deposit. And I said, I don't know if that's enough to get you out of it. And she's like, I can't afford an attorney. I said, well, you're going to have to.
What do you do now? They're just houses?
Yeah, just houses.
Property management.
So you got any good deals for us, Mike?
I have I will have two fixer-uppers coming up.
Okay.
One on Hampton Street and one on Southern Avenue.
I've got nothing. I've got nothing up at Archibald.
Close on that one finally.
The one on Church or whatever. The
Yeah.
one, yeah. What did they finally get for it?
212.
A little more than I got for the one down the street, so that's good.
Well, he wanted more, but I told him it was on the market too long. I got one accepted today finally.
I haven't been following the macro very much. How are volumes compared to last year?
Nothing.
Well, last year was nothing too. How are they?
There's no multi-units are like gold. You know, I'm looking for one for two sisters moving. I don't want to, they're all the ones they want 250, they want 260, and they're dumps. They're literally dumps. You can't even move in. People are living in them.
Yep.
The one in North Scranton, they want $299 on Main Avenue. Where the dance studio is. And they had a bad inspection report, and the guy canceled it. But they want $299, and it's like, oh my God, it's so much work.
There's like 5 dances.
No, it's like in the 1300 block. It's in North Scranton. And the guy on Orchard Street has a big unit, he wants no less than 250.
They know the stupid prices people are paying.
You guys gonna need anything back here
Yes,
tonight,
please.
or are you okay?
Yes,
I know, I'm eating.
yes, food please.
Yeah. I mean, there doesn't have to be special over whoever's on the floor.
All right,
I think.
I'll bring it for you.
Thank you. I'm hoping to get that self-storage facility finally under contract. The attorney keeps sending me information about the property, like filing, you know, what he told the city about what we're doing, and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, great, where's my contract?
Do you have any warehouses?
Up here? No, I'd actually love to get
Can I
one
get
here.
a drink?
Yeah.
Whiskey?
A
I
white,
could use
a
some of
white,
that.
a white claw?
That's
I
just
think they
standard
use this,
flavor
sir.
TV.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember like 15
What's that,
years ago, there
Some
was,
Perkins do.
there was Irish coffee on the menu.
Some Perkins do sell alcohol.
Oh, yeah, the turkey and
There's like
dressing.
a large Dr. Pepper.
Okay,
Yeah, Dr. Pepper,
okay,
Right.
okay.
but no ice in my food. No
And
ice.
you want the turkey dinner, what do you want for your two sides?
Mashed potatoes and green beans. I would love to find, I almost on this Scranton one, I almost went looking for a warehouse. Cause the
There
attorney.
is one on the west side, there is one on the west side,
Oh, yeah?
on Price Street.
All right. Send me, if you think of it, yeah, I'll look at it, see. Yeah, he was just taking so long, I'm like, screw it, I know the area is perfect, I was gonna come buy a warehouse.
How large of a property were you trying to find?
What?
How large were you trying, what was the minimum that you were looking for this
I mean, I only
self-storage?
need a couple acres, but see, this deal is great because he's gonna put the land up and become a partner in the company. So we have no money down. So and the one down Port Allentown that we're gonna do that with, the seller backed out. He's just gonna do it himself. But, you know, the deal's 2.7 and $600,000 worth of land is gonna be put up in exchange for B class shares. There's 20%.
Do you think there's something going on? Well, is it really concerning that you're not getting the contract?
Oh, no, because he talks to me,
It's
he
just
talks to me
taking
about
forever.
partner every 2 days. He's just too busy to write the contract. Like, here's the car contract. No, I want to write it. Okay. Like, we have so many emails going back and forth, and somebody like, this is happening.
Okay. So, not worried about any foul play or anything. That's good.
I've known the attorney for 10 years. My partner's known him for 20 years. The bank has known him for 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
he would piss
I'll
off too many
have
people.
the, 55 plus fish and chips.
Okay, that comes with the salad, what kind of dressing do you like?
Okay, yeah.
Balsamic vinaigrette, ranch, blue cheese, honey
The next
mustard.
time you go to a
pepper.
mobile home park, it's not overpriced.
Can I get a grilled cheese and a baked potato?
Sure. What kind of bread do you want grilled cheese on? White, wheat, rye, sourdough?
Sourdough.
Okay.
Probably help if I made sure the speaker had the link.
I don't know, what are the big concerns right now? Have the first court cases come up about wholesaling?
Have there been any? I actually haven't seen it yet. I haven't really watched them. I haven't really seen it yet. I mean, although I just actually kind of got, for the first time, Bilbo did one of my deals. They haven't done one in a while. And Jackie's making us have the buyer sign the 1173 documents. And the buyer has to sign a fee agreement for the difference between the two, even though it's a double close.
I got in trouble for that one in Petco.
Really?
Sherry was pissed
Why?
because you didn't have the, discover, the disclosure. It
We
wasn't
we
done
gave you
under,
a disclosure.
what?
We gave you a disclosure.
I ain't never got a disclosure.
Yeah, okay, well, I think, yeah, no,
Well, it's too late now.
I never don't do disclosures.
And then she said it was, the contract should have been done on the regular AO, agreement of
They
sale.
can't with the wholesale.
She wanted to,
You shouldn't get it.
she wanted to review it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, look, I'll do whatever the broker wants. If they want to be done in AOS, that's fine. I'm actually probably going and opening a non-par brokerage firm so that I can do them all as net listings instead of wholesales. Because then the seller and buyer can't get out of on the 30-day. Because if I do them as net listings, but PAR doesn't like net listings, so.
Yeah, Don, he left Keller Williams too, he's on his own.
Oh, Don Ide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of saw it. He's been ready for a while, I think, you know.
And Sarah Levy left Classic, so I mean, I can go with any of them.
Yeah. Come over to me, I'll pay you 90%.
Yeah, well, they pay, yeah, well, I'm almost at 100%, one more sale.
I mean, truthfully for you, I'd be like, you know what, just pay me $700 a closing. I don't even care what percentage.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
I had to go with Realtor.com, I got a listing from Realtor.com, I had to pay them 30%.
Mm-hmm. I just want to bring on some more agents so I can stop actually writing contracts anymore.
Well, the young ones aren't lasting, they don't tell them they need to put up, go to the MLS, belong to the board.
I mean, think of it, 70% of the ones that join the business in the last 3 years are gonna fail out in the next year. Once it gets tough. Oh, and I actually found cool. And I actually found an extension cord, I'm good.
Oh, I emptied out the reserves here.
Okay. Now, the new law makes everything all messed up.
Somebody wrote Joe Biden was the best president ever, and then they wrote April Fools.
Oh, what is the new law change for regular practice?
My buddy over there.
Specifically is about wholesales, units.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, Mike, great.
Yeah.
I got called up. Well, if I'm buying property,
Are you the speaker?
with new law.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I think they put my speaker.
We said, oh, yeah.
My mind, you have any topics just help?
Not
Not up here.
not here.
Did they outline?
It doesn't matter
outline
where.
on how and when it's
No,
supported?
just properties, there's another person. Yeah,
Did they outline
Yeah,
on
yeah.
how and when it's
Lots of
supported?
properties, duplex,
I need a duplex. You
It's as
wanna sell it?
big as.
Yeah.
humanly possible.
Location?
Which usually
Permitting
makes a
PA,
law
Southwestern
investor
PA.
invalid.
Can't hear you where?
is it Southwestern
They
here?
wrote it
no.
To make it
Yeah,
look like.
These
they
people
did
want
something.
one, these people want one in
And I can't decide they wrote it so
and we
big, so
showed
it
them.
can never be
And
enforced, so
the
they
ones
wrote
they
it
showed
so
us, they were all ducks, I wouldn't even recommend them back. They were like, oh,
That's
that's
why.
And they argued for it. And there was two nice ones that we put offers in, but 20 people wanted them.
Yeah, that's how.
That's the problem, the nice
Yeah.
ones are, there's one on
What
Woodland,
I
there's on
think it's
Woodland Street in
adding,
Scranton, that's a nice neighborhood, that's
Are
right,
you-
Marywood.
how many title
Yeah,
agents
I
out
think-
there and how many people are saying, oh no, like, no, there's just a lot of, even if you can get away with it, there's
I
a
was
lot
told
more
we got trouble for that.
Well,
I got in
no,
trouble.
I know this
They
guy
shouldn't have
that
a
was
disclosure, it wasn't done, I ain't gonna go over to go over it with me.
that license.
And then
now, it's
that
like
Joe,
doing
he
brokerage.
didn't want to sign them, he didn't want to
Oh,
sign them.
whatever that guy is, man, he's smart, you know?
She did that.
No, I didn't get it, but anyway, just.
I just
it
don't
was-
get
She was yelling at me.
Why more people don't just $500, get your license, $500 every 2 years, keep your
And then,
license.
and then and then
Don't
they
bitch
didn't
about
want-
the
they didn't
law.
wanna pay, they didn't
Just
wanna
get
cash the
licensed.
check. Oh, they were like, we got it all taken care of.
Look,
The Joey didn't
the
want-
government shouldn't be able to,
Didn't
well,
wanna sign
the government also shouldn't be able to grab people out of the streets of some
You know, they
Massachusetts
you
either.
know,
That's happened.
cause
So-
I kept, he would said, he didn't want me to put 3% in there because he thought he owed me, he argued with him.
That would just be
He
off.
felt he owed me 3%.
That's crazy.
If they were.
But he didn't owe me
right in
anything,
front
I
of
tried to
us,
explain that to him.
Wow, what day of next
We don't talk, I don't have it, I sent him a couple, but there's not, she likes to buy the off market. He wants to buy closer to the real estate.
Yeah, we get them on mark.
Right outside of
Well, call me
Tuscaloosa.
because I have people, God, we're looking for 4 or more units. No, I just talked to a guy today, just went.
I know, she was a,
And
she was
actually,
a
there's
customer
three
actually on a Fulbright scholarship.
buildings, right?
Oh, that one.
ICE, just, but okay, you know what? If 5 unmarked guys come up to my daughter, she doesn't really know.
Yeah, but these
You're a cop?
wants something
Identify
in
yourself.
here. Now, I
If you're
just talked to
not,
another girl
yeah.
from New York, she wants a move-in house.
Cause how do you know?
for
It's
150
5 just random dudes.
with a driveway, there's nothing. I sent her one in Luzerne just now.
So they keep it posted.
Yeah, keep me updated. I finally got one accepted today after all.
Oh, I can tell you, this is Sunday, we're up at Colesdale for the field hockey event. And this guy he saw the one that Fred is buying, down in Chickasha. We got it under contract last week. He's like, how come you didn't wait for me? I'm like, what do you mean wait for you? I told you I was going over this weekend. I said,
Well, that's what I told
last
these
weekend.
people that they caught me on Monday. Oh, can we come up on the weekend? I said, it won't be left.
It'll be gone, yeah.
It'll be gone.
We should just take in that house in Chickasha and been like
There's one over,
$40,000.
there's one, a house over in West Side, 249.
Yeah.
It's on Harlow Street in West Side.
Okay.
It's a nice one. A guy's driving up from New Jersey tomorrow morning, and the lady, I said 10 o'clock. She said, well, I have showings 10, 11, 12. I should have showings all day.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to go in at 249 plus the clock.
I don't even bother with, like, all my buyers, like, if you're not gonna go 30,000 over, call another agent. I'm not even bother.
That's what's happening. This one guy, they want a bit under. And I go, Dunmore, you're going under? No, you know what, they're gonna laugh. I'm not wasting time to write them up.
I actually with Robbie, one of our clients, I told him, I said, because he's always bidding under. I said, great, Venmo me $500 and I went, not that, I'll take it off you if you get done. What have I done? I said, I don't want to waste my time.
That's the guy said the house was 179, and he wanted to go 135. Not happening in Dunmore, even though it wasn't worth it.
That's crazy.
I sold one over.
Listing prices mean nothing. I'm sure
I
you can
sold-
find ones
I
that are
sold
listed
one over on-
more than.
I have one under contract on Maple Street, 821 Maple. We listed it at 179.9. I got 179.9, and I have 5 showings, and we have 5 offers and 14 showings.
Wow.
And if I let it go another week, we could have got more. We could have got over.
We put one up for like 16,000 down at Chickasha. The house was the scariest hold harmless I could possibly imagine. Don't touch the house, don't breathe on the house, don't go near the house, and it went $4,000 over.
Wow. Yeah, we had it was I think it was severe danger hold harmless form,
Yeah.
what Steve created, and people didn't care. They just wanted it. I'm like,
I
they're
mean,
insane.
it's almost an acre and a half.
I wasn't gonna wind up being the buyer either way, but I was surprised that you guys sold that one over on, just outside of Bunker Hill, East Mountain area.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the next day, oh yeah, already sold. It's like, why didn't you get people to like push offers back and forth for 3 days? Tell them the fuck that.
We tend to be
Not
real
really
quick
not
about
worth it.
Yeah. Like, you know what, if it makes 10, 15 grand, John, next.
You know, now you have to find another one. This one could have made you 30 grand, and you didn't have to find the next one.
Actually, I think it may have. I mean,
Yeah, well, I
it's a
think
good
it sold for like 10 grand more than you guys were at listing it at least.
Yeah.
we did well with that one. Yeah, I just like to get them in and get them out with a guaranteed money, because so many people just say they're interested, disappear, and then lose the sale.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was wondering. Is like, no, we need this contract.
Oh, yeah, people text over, they're like, sight unseen, we'll give you 30 grand. Okay, wire me 30 grand. Well, no. On this one where they had the 2 buyers, my buyer wired $257,000 to Bilbo within 3 days of signing the contract. And she's never seen it. She probably will have. She's buying it. She will buying it the summer. Like, you understand? I'm not. She's like, I know you're not responsible. It's not your fault. It's okay. Hello.
Hey.
Don't say that, or you won't get credit for getting her the dream home now.
Sometimes you don't want credit to avoid blame. She's like, does it smell funny? I said, I'm not saying yes, no, or indifferent. I work for both parties. Leave me the hell alone.
Work for both. Yeah, does it smell funny?
now when all this went south, and I actually called the PAR hotline, and they emailed me back, the chief solicitor for PAR, and he's like, Steve, advise everyone to get attorneys. Stay out of it. Just advise everyone to get attorneys and figure it out. You did nothing wrong. That's the only thing you have to worry about. He's like, because you can't tell one to get an attorney and not the other. He's like, just tell everyone to get an attorney.
I don't know, from the sounds of this,
Okay, so it works. Mobile home parks are tough, though. They go for way too much money.
Restaurants looking at getting into them.
Buying the park or buying like rental trailers?
Yeah, we're doing okay turning trailers. We're trying to find a whole park.
Oh, yeah. Mike, you said you need some properties. How about mobile homes?
Thank you.
Mike, you said you
Can I
need
get
some.
you guys anything?
How about some mobile homes? Name, yeah,
I've sold a couple.
We got two of them.
There's menus, and so
We are in Moscow.
Thank you, ma'am. One's in Moosic Heights and the other one's in Heather Highlands. So one in the Pittston area, one in the, Moosic area just outside of Scranton.
That's a big trailer park.
Yeah.
That's up there by Ginny Joe's, right?
Yeah.
Like there's Ginny Joe's at the bottom.
Yep. I just put it down.
That's like is that Rockledge Road or Rockledge? I know exactly.
Rocky Glen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky Glen,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah, that's a big park. It's a pretty nice park. It's
Yeah.
not dirty, it's clean. Is that park for sale or is it just the
This
trailer?
is at the home.
Why don't we just have one of the slots in the,
Okay.
in the place? I wish we had the home park. I'd
Yeah.
be doing backflips, probably.
There are two dumpy parks headed up to Harvey's Lake on whatever that is, 309. And they were dumpy, and I saw they were going to auction, so I just logged into the auction. I was like, all right, not enough. It was like the next day, not enough time to think about buying it.
A lot of banks won't take them.
Yeah,
So what you have to do is, there's a company out of Tennessee.
yeah, 21st century or
21st
whatever.
something, and they sell them, but their interest rate's like 10. The lady had to pay $400 a month for her mortgage, but then she has to pay the $400 and some for her, the fees.
Well, at that point, it's not even worth it. Yeah, this mobile home park sold for 4% cap rate. I'm like, really?
I need more of the referral for selling her house in Allentown
Yeah.
than on the trailer.
That's we need minimum commissions. Yeah, I had some listing for like 20 grand. The guy's like, why is your commission 4 grand? So because the other agent and I aren't getting out of bed for lists. 6% of 20 grand, no thanks. 3% of 20 grand, even more no thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, with honey and lemon or just by itself?
Can I get the lemon off the side?
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fine.
Can I get a lemon meringue pie? So you guys have any of those?
A slice?
Yes, please.
Okay, no
Thank you
problem.
so much.
So did the presenter get back to you?
Which one?
Somebody's supposed to be here tonight, isn't there?
Up here.
Ah,
Just waiting to see if he responds. He knows it's 7:30. And he's in State College, so he knows it's 7:30 Eastern. YouTube. Oh, 7 people on YouTube, okay. So the postcards are ready, Ryan. We just gotta
Oh, good deal.
get on with them and figure out how to do the mailing side of it.
Okay, that's great. Great to hear. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
No problem. Do you need them any also?
Just a dessert menu.
So menus are right there on the table.
Yeah, with how fast you guys seem to try to move, I'm like, half you leaving money on the table, and I wonder, like, did they only have a 2-week contract to make this happen?
We give our local ones about 2.5 weeks. And then we give our statewide ones 4 weeks.
No, I meant the contract that you had in order with the seller.
But yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, you do need to take what deal you can get as quick as you can get it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, because the idea of tying somebody up for 60 or 90 days, they might as well go to a realtor though. Especially because they're coming to us because they're in trouble. They need a fast solution.
And if we can turn around and make it quick, all the better, you know?
And of course, it's still got another.
In Lackawanna County, who do you guys have doing title? Because there have been more than a few times in the past couple of years where title was just snail's pace.
Well,
Everybody's out sick or on vacation that actually does the work.
yeah, well, I mean, we don't do title until we let the buyer do title.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like 3 weeks and then another 4 weeks in title, you're out 8 weeks for the service.
Yeah.
So I mean, Tamara down at Modern Abstract, I'm not sure where she is, like physically. She's been doing a lot of them for us. Betty does okay. Bilbo. Not a lot of other title companies. I can't think of anybody up in Scranton except for Valvano, but I'm not sure Rocco does.
Oh, KW.
Yeah, what?
KW is the title company.
KW will, but we're talking about wholesale titles.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, Danny and I have had extensive conversations about that now. Come on, Zach, why haven't you responded to me? Oh, he's right there. Okay. I see you. All right. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear us? All right. So we got a few people here. We got a few people here. About 8 or 9 people or 10 people now on the YouTube channel. So, all right. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the crowd, because you got a better handle on which part of you want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I just connected my microphone. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
All right.
Yeah. Can you hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
All
Yeah, go
right.
for it. Yes, we got about 12 people now on the YouTube side, so it's coming on board. But yeah, good. So so I've been talking with Zach about some private lending stuff. He's been all over Facebook. A lot of you guys have probably seen him. Accounting and bookkeeping and so forth. And why don't you kind of remind everybody a little more about yourself and kind of where you want to head tonight?
Yeah. Hey, Steve, if you wouldn't mind, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'll send you the link to it. It's REI homepage. Let me send you the live link real quick.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll share it with my audience real quick to see if anybody else wants to tune in to the YouTube channel.
All right, cool. Yeah.
How's dinner going? How's Perkins?
Perkins is always lovely.
I know they're known for their breakfast, but I didn't know if they were known for their dinner. All right. Just got the link. So if I present my screen, will people be able to see it on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, if you can, yeah, you yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can present now.
Yep, present now. I'm not sure what the delay is, but present now.
All right. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So my name is Zach Pasquarello, and I own Zip Capital LLC. I'm a private money lender, and I'm also a bookkeeper. So
Hang on, we got some sort of echo thing going on here.
is there an echo? How do I sound now? Do I sound any better? Is there anything I can do to help? How do I sound? Should I keep
Yeah,
going?
go ahead. I'm going to mute this side, so go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, so my name's Zach Pasquarello, Zip Capital LLC. This is just a legal disclosure, just stuff that I have to put up there on the screen. You all can obviously read that and we can move on. So yeah, like I said, Zach Pasquarello. So first and foremost, faith is really important to me. I am a Christian, go to church every Sunday with my family, really involved with my church. So I like to throw that in there. That's very important to me.
Zach,
And then
Zach, stop for a second. We got a serious echo, and I'm not sure why.
let me see if I can change anything.
Maybe if you mute your speaker when you're talking, unless you have headphones.
I think, does it sound better now? Is there still an echo? Hopefully that sounds better now. I think I had the YouTube channel up, so that might have been why there was an echo. Is there still an echo? Is there still an echo? Steve, can you hear me? I know.
Hang
I
on.
think
All right, so just say something totally different now. Let's see if the echo went away.
yeah. So my name is Zach Pasquarello, and I'm going to give a presentation on a little bit of bookkeeping and some private money lending stuff. How's that sound?
All right, try it now. See if that works.
All right. How does this sound now? Hopefully there's no echo. Hopefully we can get this presentation rolling. Can you hear me now? Is there an echo?
I might have done it. Okay, I think we're cool.
Okay. Take 3. Let's try this again. A little technical difficulties. That's all right. So a little bit about me. Faith, most important thing. Go to church every Sunday. Really involved with my church. Family, number 2. Got 4 kids and 1 on the way. So family is super important to me. And then number 3, just fitness. And I'm not just talking about going to the gym, although I do love going to the gym, just having a growth mindset. I think a lot of real estate investors and business owners and entrepreneurs in general can probably appreciate that. Just fitness, always trying to grow, always trying to get better. I'm sure everybody watching this here is probably invested in growth. So I grew up in South Central PA, and then I went to Lehigh University, and then I joined the Army after college. I was an infantry officer, spent 4 years in Georgia, and then we moved back home and I started working at a warehouse as a manager and then started my bookkeeping business almost 5 years ago in the fall of 2020. So we're coming up on my 5-year anniversary. And I learned about bookkeeping, or I learned about private money lending and real estate by accident because I was a bookkeeper for other real estate investors, and I still am a bookkeeper. Honestly, bookkeeping is the majority of what I'm doing now. I have 85 clients. I primarily work with real estate investors like yourself and realtors, wholesalers, flippers, landlords, long-term rentals. And I also work with a lot of general contractors, home remodeling companies, landscapers, roofers, concrete guys, painters. So bookkeeping is primarily what I'm doing right now. And I learned about private money lending by accident. And so did my first private money loan 2 years ago because my real estate investor bookkeeping clients were paying a lot of money in interest. And I saw their books and I saw what they were doing. I was like, that's really interesting. Who are these guys? And why are you paying them thousands of dollars per month? I know they're not general contractors. So I know they're not actually working on the property. Like, what are they doing? And I learned that they are just guys with 25,000, 50,000, 500,000, $2 million of cash laying around. And they just do private money loans. They just fund these fix and flips. They fund these burrs. And so I did my first deal in the fall. It doesn't matter, 2023. Did my first deal, $50,000. Lent $50,000 to one of my clients, and I got $51,000 back. It was kind of like a wholesale kind of thing where like they didn't really do much to it, but they just kind of cleaned it out, put it back up on the market and sold it real fast. So I made $1,000 in 30 days by lending $50,000. And over the past 2 years, God has been really good to me and my bookkeeping business, really enabled me to grow a lot and just get a ton of clients and just grow really quickly. So I was able to save up basically $850,000 over the past 2 years. And so now I have $850,000 of my own money lent out right now to real estate investors. So what is real estate investing? Obviously, you all know that. Primarily fix and flip. So just purchasing below market value properties, renovating for a profit, and then selling for a quick return. And then I also lend on BRRRRs. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So I'm not only lending on fix and flips, but even long-term rentals. So you can use my money to purchase quickly, off market, cash, auction, foreclosure. You can purchase a rental quickly, fix it up, rent it out, and then go to a traditional bank and refinance it. And then you get the money back and you repeat the process. So private money lending, short-term loans, 6 months, 12 months at most. It's really hard to find a traditional private money lender who's much more than 12 months. Quick capital. So that's why guys like you are coming to lenders like me, because you're trying to close in 14 days. No bank is going to close in 14 days. And even the big regional hard money lender companies who like claim to be a hard money lender, they can't even close in 10 or 14 days. So that's why people come to individuals like me, because I can close in 72 hours. As long as title is clear and I have the funds available and the underwriting looks good, I can close in 48 hours. I love it because it's fixed returns. And all of my loans, of course, are secured by real estate. First lien position. I don't do any second liens. You can get second lien loans for rehab from other private money lenders, but that's just not me. That's not what I do. So I charge 12%. So you might be asking yourself, why would an investor be willing to pay higher rates? Because you can get a mortgage for 8 or 9%. It's all about speed and flexibility. And a lot of guys and real estate investors in general come to me after their original lender fell through. That's kind of my specialty. People come to me and they got to close next week. They need $100,000. No institution, no bank, no big time hard money lender is going to close in 7 days. So the small guys like me, we don't have much capital available, but when we do have capital available, we can lend quickly and we can be flexible. like I said, why don't you guys just use a traditional bank? Because banks are slow. And also, typically, banks will not lend 100% of the purchase price, but I will. And I'll talk about my underwriting criteria in a few minutes. So how do I mitigate risk? Underwriting. That's what it all comes down to. Underwriting, and some more underwriting. And there are different terms based on experience. So that's actually where I will segue into talking about this. Let me make sure it's on the right screen here. So my underwriting criteria. So first and foremost, your taxes must be complete and filed for the previous 2 years. So now is kind of a difficult time because it's like, do you want to see my 2024 taxes or my 2023 taxes? I'm okay with 2022 and 2023, but in a couple months, I'll be looking for 2024 tax returns. And let me just preface all of this with my version of underwriting is not necessarily going to be the way every private money lender underwrites. I have a bookkeeping and accounting background, so I care a little bit more about the financial reports and the bank statements and the tax returns. Somebody who has more of an operator background might care more about the scope of work and the comps. Everything's important, of course, but not everybody asks for tax returns, but that is a requirement for me. So my advice to anybody looking for a private money loan would definitely be to make sure you stay up to date on your taxes. Everything that I'm about to go through, what I would recommend is just write all this stuff down. And then once you go home tonight, just get a Google Drive and just throw all these documents into a Google Drive. That way you come upon a property real quick. You want to try to get pre-approved for a loan. You can reach out to 5 or 6 different lenders and you have these documents all ready to go. So exit strategy requirement. All borrowers are required to submit a written exit strategy outlining their plan to sell or refi/rent the property. So just make sure you have like a clear exit strategy. So there's 3 different types of borrowers. There's brand new borrowers. So right here, if you are brand new and you have not done a flip in the past 12 months, I want to see reasonably strong tax returns. I have here, you must have adjusted gross income above $60,000. Everything's negotiable. This is just kind of my criteria. So if you've never done a flip in the past and you have, $20,000 or $30,000 of income, I still might lend to you, but there's got to be some other, you got to have really good liquidity or maybe really good experience or maybe have like kind of a story to tell as to why your income is low. For example, I just lent to somebody last year who only had $30,000 of income because he spent 6 months on a missions trip in Africa. So he only worked for 6 months and spent the other 6 months with his family on a missions trip. So it's not like you got to meet the requirements 100%, but these are just kind of the guidelines. So if it's your first flip, I really don't like to lend 100% of the purchase price. I have here 80% of the purchase price on your first flip. Once again, that is open to negotiation depending on your experience. And I typically won't fund rehab if it's your first flip. And once again, these are kind of like my really strict guidelines. I have deviated from these guidelines depending on the situation. And then I want to see that you're running your numbers. Whenever you send me your scope of work, your renovation plan, your rehab budget, I want to see that you're actually going to be profitable. Like I want to see the numbers. I want to see your spreadsheet. I want to see your calculations. So I want to see a 25% profit margin based on the after rehab value minus your closing costs. Don't forget about closing costs. You got to sell, you got to pay the realtor. You're going to have to pay, property taxes, potentially title insurance. There's commissions. There's a lot of closing costs that need to be accounted for when you're looking at the profitability of these deals. And then the comps. So defined a detailed budget, definitely a detailed budget with the closing costs and the estimated rehab expenses. And I don't want, as just from a lender's perspective, I don't necessarily want to just see like 5 items like landscaping, roofing, framing, drywall, flooring, painting. Like we all know you're going to do that stuff. I want to see like an actual detailed line by line renovation plan. Like how much is the framing going to cost? How much is the painting and the drywall and the landscaping and the roofing and the appliances and the HVAC? Like how much is all of that going to cost? And then also a timeline for completing each project phase, because I lend sometimes the purchase price and I will also fund your rehab. So I want to see that you have a plan, because I'm not just going to give you your full rehab up front. So I'll lend you the purchase price, and then your rehab will come in the form of draws. So if I give you a $30,000 rehab budget, I would like to see that 20 or 30% of the work is complete, and then I'll give you $10,000. And then I want to see 65% of the work is complete with pictures and a detailed explanation of what you finished. And then I'll give you the second $10,000. And then once the property is listed for sale in the MLS, I'll give you your third and final draw. So because of that, I want to see that you have a timeline for when you're going to be completing each phase of the project. And this isn't necessarily just good for the underwriter or the lender. This is all stuff that probably every real estate investor should be doing, regardless of whether or not the lender asks you for any of this. This is just probably all a good practice. And then finally, comps. The ARV is probably one of the most important things when it comes to determining whether or not a deal is going to be a good idea or not. That's what it's all about. If you're going to refinance it or sell it, we're basically trying to predict the future. How much is this property going to be worth? And luckily, there's a system for it. We can look at similar properties that have sold in the past 3 to 6 months, and we can average those out. And similar property type, similar size, obviously location, school district, zip code, block, street, neighborhood, similar size, similar type. If it's a rancher or townhouse or a row home or whatever it is. And then if it's your first time, I do like to see that the ARV is somewhat verified by a licensed local real estate agent. Super important, the ARV. Now, if you've done one flip in the past 12 months, it's basically all the same, but I might lend 50% of rehab and potentially 85% of the purchase price. And then once you've completed 2 flips in the past 12 months, you have some experience. Now is when I don't necessarily care about your taxable income. I care more about your experience. So I'm going to look at your HUDs. I'm going to request your 2 most recent HUDs from your acquisition and your disposition or your refinance. So once again, with all your paperwork, I understand it can be overwhelming with all these documents and Excel spreadsheets and Google Drive and Microsoft OneDrive. Like, it's overwhelming, but just try to stay digitally organized. That way, whenever a lender or an investor wants to look at what you have going on, it's just too easy to share the Google Drive, send the files. So keep your HUDs. Try to have your HUDs somewhat digitally organized, your purchase, your sale, because I'm sure some lenders might ask to look at that. I would lend 100% LTV and 100% rehab, but the key here is that I never want to go more than 70% of the ARV. That's the big difference. So yes, I'll lend 100% purchase, but I'm looking at the ARV and I want to make sure that my purchase and rehab loan don't exceed 70% of the ARV. So when you all are running your numbers and trying to get financing, that might be helpful. When you're looking at comps, trying to calculate the ARV, trying to figure out your rehab budget, maybe now that you know we look at 70% of the ARV, maybe try to tweak your rehab budget, try to see where you can cut costs, or maybe you could save some money, or maybe do some work yourself to not have to exceed that 70%. Rehab plus purchase cannot exceed 70%. Yes, that's. I think I've talked enough about underwriting. Underwriting is just the most important part. As a lender, underwriting is the most important part. So I take that part very seriously. Okay. Let's get back to it here. Hopefully you can see. Okay, where did I leave off? So as a borrower, what happens if you default? So all of my mortgages are secured with a first lien. And I have title insurance. I have a real estate attorney draft my promissory note, my mortgage, and a personal guarantee. So I only like to lend to LLCs. Sometimes I will lend to individuals, but I really prefer to only lend to LLCs just because the foreclosure process is a little bit different for an LLC versus an individual. So I have a real estate attorney draft all those documents. So, worst case scenario, you default on the loan, and I'm a human, you're a human. Like, I'm going to do my best to try to make this work for you. So if you're 5 days late on your interest payment, I'm not going to foreclose on the property. If you're 2 months late on the interest payment, we're going to start to get really serious, I'll probably have to meet with you and walk the property and figure out what's going on. But I really don't want to have to foreclose on the property. That's worst case scenario. So for me personally, I funded more than $2 million in real estate loans over the past 2 years with 0 defaults and 0 foreclosures, which is great. I don't have a ton of experience, but it's great that I have 0 defaults and 0 foreclosures, but it's also not great because I don't really know what it's like to go through a foreclosure. So I'm not hoping that happens anytime soon, but if it does happen soon, I'm confident that I have my real estate attorney, have all of the documents in place, the mortgage recorded, and I also have a confession of judgment in my promissory note. And the idea behind that is that it's designed to help the lender in the event of a foreclosure. It would enable us to skip some of the court. So confession of judgment is a good way for lenders to mitigate risk. At the end of the day, I want you to succeed. Like if you succeed, I succeed, we all succeed. So I'm going to do whatever I can to help you not have to go through a foreclosure. Like I said, I currently have $850,000 of my own money invested in loans right now. Let's see. So these are just some examples of properties that I've lent on. We don't have to go through that. You all know what properties look like. So I guess before we go any further, I will take a quick pause and ask if anybody has any questions about private money lending or getting loans or getting qualified through the underwriting process. I'll take a brief pause.
So one of the questions came in on YouTube is, we didn't hear the word deed in lieu of foreclosure. You keep talking about doing a full foreclosure. Have you planned to accelerate that and just be like, hey, what I've done on mine is you sign a deed back to me. It sits with the real estate attorney. And if you don't pay me on the whatever third month, we go to a magistrate, say, Your Honor, he didn't pay me. And I already have the deed to bring it back. Once the judge says, yeah, you're right, you weren't paid, I can bring it back.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that, accelerating the foreclosure?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about doing that. I have not done that, but that's a great idea. All right. So I do want to just touch on one thing briefly, if that's okay. So private money lending. So like I said, I have my own money lent out, and then I do have another option available, and I won't spend too much time talking about this, but I have a debt fund, which most private money lenders are probably offering a debt fund, and I offer fixed returns to investors who want to invest into my fund. So there's a couple benefits. So you could just be a private money lender yourself, or you could just lend directly on a property. But if you don't necessarily want to wait for a property to become available, maybe you're sitting on $25,000 or $50,000 of cash and you want to maybe try to do your own loan and you don't necessarily want to wait for a property to become available, I offer an option for investors to just invest directly into my fund. So you're not going to earn 12% interest like you might if you did your own loan, but you don't have to wait, and your investment would be diversified across a fund of multiple first lien positions. So just because one property goes through the foreclosure process, your investment is not necessarily tied to that. So the minimum investment in my fund is $25,000, and distributions are paid monthly with an option for compounding interest. It's just a great alternative to a bank CD or a money market account. So this is just a graph showing the orange is investing $100,000 into my fund, and the blue is investing $100,000 into a bank CD at 4% versus 9%. So I'm just doing the same thing with other people's money that I've been doing with my money for the past 2 years. So I've got 2 investors in my fund right now, a whopping total of $150,000 and $850 of my own. So I'm managing $1 million right now. Nothing big, nothing crazy. Literally just started the fund in January, but I'm excited about it. So I just wanted to share that real quick. My goal is to raise $5 million in 2025. So we'll see if that happens. Yeah, if I have time, I can go over some bookkeeping tips, but if I don't have time, we can end there. It's up to you.
Well, yeah, we can definitely cover more, but Jason, you were asking what?
Is your money, is your 850 in the same fund with them, or is your 850 went out separately under a different structure?
It's all combined. It's all together. Yeah. So just all the money, all my money is just pooled together. The 150 from others and the 850 from me. It's all kind of in one pot, if you will.
And somebody else, who handles the writing of the documents? You and your real estate attorney handle that? Someone just wires you money and it gets handled from there?
For the fund?
For any of it, for either way.
Yeah. So
Like-
for my real estate loans, for my private money loans, I have a title agent and a real estate attorney out of Lancaster, Ryan Melliner with Prime Transfer. He handles all my loan docs, promissory note, mortgage, and personal guarantee. So every time there's a new loan, I send him all the information. He updates the parcel ID and the address on the mortgage, and then I take those loan docs and I send them to the title agent who's handling the transaction.
And that's true whether it's your money or somebody else's money. All of that's handled on your side. We're not doing any of it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So if you invest into the fund, like you just invest into the fund and then you're done. And then I handle, that's kind of my job, to handle all of the transaction.
But how about if we don't invest in the fund and like that 130 we were talking about this morning, if I want to do that deal, is that also handled by you and your attorney?
Yeah. So there is kind of a third option. I don't push it too much because ideally everyone invests into my fund, but I understand not everybody wants to do that. So there is a third option. I coordinate loans. So I play middleman. So I have a long list of real estate investors who want to borrow from me. The demand is significantly higher than my supply, which is a good thing, but it's also a challenge because I'm not able to service near even half of the loans that come across my desk. So because of that, because my fund is limited, I only have $1 million, which might sound like a lot, but it can go in 5 loans in a matter of 2 weeks. And so it's really not that much money. So I have connected with a lot of other people who have $25, $50, $100, $200, $500,000. So I coordinate loans. So I just play middleman. I connect the dots. Investor comes to me looking for money. I reach out to 5 or 6 other people who have money and I present the deal. I say, hey, I checked out their tax returns. I checked out their adjusted gross income. I looked at the bank statements, looked at their financial reports, looked at their investor experience, looked at the property, scope of work, ARV, and the comps. And here's all the information. And then so if you do want to do a deal, you could do it that way. And if you did it that way, you would have first lien position. So I've seen a lot of people talk about like fractionalized notes. I don't do that. I know there are some people that do that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing against that. It's just not what I do. So if you did want to fund a deal as a private money lender, you would have first lien position. You would get 12% interest. The borrower would pay you directly. Your company, your name would be on the promissory note, on the mortgage. The transaction would be between you and the lender. I simply just get an origination fee for coordinating the loan. So the borrower pays me directly. So you as the lender, you don't pay me anything. The borrower pays me basically for the service of finding the lender, coordinating the loan. And same process, exact same process, same underwriting process. I treat your money just like I treat my money, the exact same due diligence, and my real estate attorney drafts all the documents. So the exact same process, you're just first lien holder instead of my fund.
And somebody else asked, do you only do residential or do you do commercial, mixed use, whatever, and do you only do it in PA?
I would do, I don't really do commercial just because they're bigger deals. Like I don't really do multi-units or mixed use or commercial. I just got presented a loan. They were looking for $400,000 on a 6-unit in Harrisburg. And that would be way too much for me to fund. Like I'm looking at like $150,000. That's kind of my sweet spot right now. So typically the multi-units and the commercial loans are bigger. It's also not my area of expertise when it comes to underwriting. Like it's relatively straightforward on how to underwrite a single family home. But when it comes to underwriting those multi-units, that's kind of outside of my wheelhouse. So I typically refer those loans over to other lenders. So I partner with lenders all over the state who are bigger than me, who have 40, 50, 60 million dollars of assets under management. So I would probably refer those larger multi-unit loans out to them. That's the other good thing about knowing a private money lender, because we know all the other private money lenders. So even if you reach out to one guy, one lender, and he can't get you funded, maybe ask them like, hey, do you know anybody else who might be able to get me funded? Because chances are that lender probably knows 15 other lenders.
Well, I just got another message is the transactional and EMD stuff. That's what you mean by your debt fund. You guys will do that through the debt fund, for the transactional 1.5% for 3 days, or earnest money deposit lending, or even with the debt fund, do you strictly do regular loans?
Yeah, I'm not doing that right now. I'm not opposed to doing it in the future. I just don't know enough about it. There's so much demand for what I'm doing right now. I'm charging 12%, 3 points, $500 processing fee, $1,000 underwriting fee, and there's just so much demand for that. I'm just haven't really tapped into any other market yet. I understand transactional lending, especially with the new wholesale laws. Like, things are changing rapidly, so that might become more of a thing, but it's just not my wheelhouse right now. So no, I don't do that, but I'm not opposed to it potentially in the future.
Okay. Any other topics, guys, or should he go on to whatever the next thing was? Yeah, Zach, have you got whatever you were going to go to next? Did you have something else you were going to cover? Or?
Yeah, so I don't really have a slideshow for this, but I just wanted to briefly cover I have 3 bookkeeping tips for everybody that I would feel bad if I didn't give these last 3 bookkeeping tips, just because bookkeeping is that is definitely my area of expertise.
Yeah, go. Yeah. You want to put your face back up?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah, so bookkeeping, just 3 tips. 3 tips for everybody. My best 3 tips would be, number 1, just start early and often. Like, if you're thinking about starting a business, whether you're a realtor or a real estate investor, wholesaler, flipper, any other business, just start early. Like, as soon as you start your business, just start doing bookkeeping early and keep up with it. The worst thing that you can do is wait until the end of the year, probably right now, to try to do your bookkeeping. It's just like keeping your closet clean or doing your dishes. Like, if you wait until the end of the week to do your dishes, it's going to be a nightmare. But if you just keep up with your dishes on a daily basis, then it's not really that bad. Same thing with keeping anything organized. So I know it can be kind of daunting. And so if you want to try to do it yourself, you absolutely can. You totally can try to do your own bookkeeping. But if you don't know how to do it, then you're going to have to hire somebody. If you don't know how to do it, but maybe you can learn how to do it, then great. Try to learn how to do it. Save yourself a couple $100. The other option is maybe you know how to do it, but you don't have time to do it. So if you don't have time to do your bookkeeping, it's just like anything. You're going to have to outsource it. So focus on what you're good at. Focus on what you know how to do. Optimize your time. So if you want to try to do it yourself, you can. If you don't know how to or don't have time to do it, then you have no other option. You have to hire somebody. So keep up with it on a regular basis or hire somebody to do it for you. QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks is the most popular accounting software that I've seen. And if you're going to try to do your bookkeeping, invest $35, maybe $50 a month, get QuickBooks Online, and that'll help you organize your finances, organize your bookkeeping, connect your bank accounts to QuickBooks, credit cards to QuickBooks, and then you can just categorize your transactions. The whole point of bookkeeping is to categorize your transactions so that you can create financial reports so that you can file your taxes and you can see if you're actually profitable. And then the third one is, if you're starting a business or if you have a business already, keep your business and personal transactions separate. Number one thing that I see new business owners messing up is they just have a personal credit card or a personal bank account and they just run everything through that. It just makes things more complicated because bookkeeping is basically the act of categorizing transactions. So if you have to categorize twice as many transactions because you're mixing business and personal, it's just going to make things more complicated. So keep things simple. Do your bookkeeping early and often, consistently. Don't wait until the end. Get QuickBooks Online and keep your business and personal transactions separate. That's it. Those are my 3 best tips for doing your bookkeeping.
Now, on your bookkeeping stuff, what sort of, what do you do within that? Okay, the camera's not capturing much. What do you do within that? Like, do you actually, every time we spend something, we send a text message and say, hey, bought this on Amazon for this company? Is it like that level of bookkeeping? Is that really what you expect to be doing? Or do you simply, maybe not simply, or maybe the wrong word, but do you sort of look at the bank statements and just reconcile bank statements and label the bank statements differently? Like what do you typically do for most of your investors?
Every single transaction. Every time you swipe your credit card or receive money or spend money in your bank account, I'm recording that transaction. I'm categorizing it. Real estate investing bookkeeping is actually some of the most complicated bookkeeping because a lot of people want to class track their transactions. So if they're a real estate investor and you have 3 properties, you have utilities, insurance, repairs and maintenance, contractor labor, property taxes, interest, financing costs. You have all these expenses for different properties. And at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you need to file a Schedule E. So you need to itemize your transactions. You not only do you need to put them into categories like utilities and taxes and insurance, you have to take it a step further and allocate them to the properties for tax purposes and also for internal management. Like you want to know, is this property actually profitable? And if you only have one property, one bank account, not too hard to know if it's cash flowing. But if you have 3 or 4 or 5, 50, 60 properties, you're never going to know if your properties are profitable or cash flowing unless you do what's called class tracking. So real estate investor bookkeeping is really complicated because you're doing this class tracking and you're allocating these properties, these transactions, not only into the buckets of categories, but also to properties. And it doesn't only apply to long-term rentals. It also applies to flips because obviously you want to know how profitable were my flips. And so really the only way to do that is to allocate every transaction to a specific flip. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Real estate investor bookkeeping is some of the more complicated bookkeeping that I do.
And how experienced are you with property management bookkeeping? Like, which is a whole other level, much more complicated than flips or rentals even. If you're handling 7 different clients and 4 different escrow accounts and partners repair trade. Are you comfortable with that stuff?
I do not do bookkeeping for any property managers. A lot of property managers use like Appfolio or Buildium, and I don't work with that software. So I only work with QuickBooks Online, and a lot of property managers usually it seems like they have somebody kind of in-house handling their bookkeeping because bookkeeping is like kind of like a very large part of the actual service of being a property manager. So I don't do any of that. I only do bookkeeping for investors who manage their own properties, or they have a property manager manage their properties, and then I get a rental owner's statement at the end of the month. And so I see, because it's terrible. It's really confusing because the cash that you get doesn't match your rental income because they're deducting all the expenses, the management fee, the commissions, the utilities, the repairs, the maintenance. So I get the rental statement. So I might have received $1,000, but in reality, rental income was $1,500. And then there was a $150 management fee and then a $350 repair. And then I got $1,000. So every single month I do that journal entry basically to account for the rental income, deduct out the expenses. So long story short, to answer your question, I don't do bookkeeping for property managers, but I do work with property managers on behalf of my real estate investor clients to make that end of month adjustment.
Okay. All right. One last question that we got in. Well, so one last question is, where are you physically based? If somebody wanted to come out to your office or wherever, you stay college or? Right, I assume you do most things virtually, but like where can people find you like locally?
Yeah, so my bookkeeping business is called Harrisburg Bookkeeping. So
Okay.
I'm primarily based out of Harrisburg. Technically, I'm in Cumberland County over in Mechanicsburg, and I do not have an office. I actually do not do in-person meetings. So I only do virtual meetings. It's just kind of a time thing. And I also work out of my home office. Like I'm in my home office right now. So if it were a really intriguing opportunity, I might meet for lunch if you wanted to meet for lunch. But generally speaking, if you're just looking for help with your bookkeeping or looking for a private money loan, I would probably just set up a virtual meeting. And then, of course, we could chat on the phone for 20 minutes. And then if we decide that maybe an in-person meeting would be best, then, of course, we could schedule that. But typically virtual over the phone meetings.
Okay. And then how does everyone reach you? Or is there, before we do the wrap up, how does everyone reach you? Is there anything else you wanted to cover? Or?
Nope, I'm all good. HarrisburgBookkeeping.com. Zach at HarrisburgBookkeeping.com. Find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Zach Pasquarello. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm all over the computer. I'm all over the internet. So yeah, I'd be happy to chat with anybody. If anybody has any questions about bookkeeping. So I'm taking on new bookkeeping clients, but at the same time, I'm not really taking on new bookkeeping clients. So with that in mind, I will promise to give you a totally unbiased opinion. So I could give you a quote, or I could let you know if you need a bookkeeper, or if you don't, I would be more than happy to take a look at what you have going on and promise to give you an unbiased opinion of best options for you. So yeah, send me a message on Facebook, send me an email, Zach at HarrisburgBookkeeping.com. We can chat about private money lending, you investing into my fund and earning up to 12% fixed returns, or we can talk about bookkeeping.
All right. That's all the questions I got from online. Anything else locally, guys? All right. Thank you very much, man. I will send you the link to this, and hopefully we can do some more stuff. And I sent you a text about the 1:30.
All right.
Doing that. All right. Cool.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. All right.